So you're trying to get your artwork out in front of the general public. Today we will talk about the pros and cons between juried and non-juried shows. Hi there, I'm Eric Wolsing and this is Striking Steel. We like to break down our shows into two different categories, juried and non-juried. Juried shows are those shows that rely upon a jury as part of the application process. Now what's a jury? Well, just like the name implies, it's a panel of judges who determine whether or not your work is meritorious enough to be in their show. How do they figure this out? Well, great question. Primarily, they use a series of photographs in order to figure out whether or not your work is good enough to be in their show. Usually it's around 4 to 5 photographs with a picture of your booth, whether indoor or outdoor, depending on the show. And that's your entire application, 4 to 5 pictures of your artwork. I will admit it feels rather limiting, which is why your photography is very important. But more on that later. Essentially, juried shows are what we try to be in. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. The first reason is that our juried shows we find through zapplication.org, and we find that that really cuts out a lot of the legwork we used to do in terms of figuring out whether a show is good enough or not for us to be in. By having a jury, it ensures that there is a level of artwork consistent with our own that will attract a certain kind of people. If you don't know the certain kind of people, your target audience, definitely check out our target audience video. Once you're in a juried art show, you'll find that the people walking around are definitely looking for artwork more than they're looking for craft, which is a huge benefit to being in a juried show. Another reason to be in a juried show, of course, is just to have the feather in your hat. As you have been juried in successfully to the various shows, you can put that on your curriculum vitae, your CV, as a kudo for you. Hey, I've been in these shows, and depending on the application, that might weigh heavily in the jury's decision process to admit you to their show. If you're new to the show circuit or haven't done a juried show before, definitely check out your local area art guilds. A lot of them may have what's called a mock jury, and they're a great way to check out whether or not what you are submitting to most juries is going to be good for getting you into those shows. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a pretty good tool. You can submit your photographs, get some good feedback on those photographs of things you can improve, things you're doing well, things that you can maybe change a little bit to improve your odds of getting in a show. Definitely check one of those out. Now, non-juried shows are the opposite of juried shows. When I say non-juried shows, I'm typically talking about those shows that have a very lax jury process, if any. I sometimes refer to them as a jury of one, that one being the show organizer. Or if that show organizer feels like your work is good enough to be in their show, you're instantly in. You don't have the same kind of rigor that you would in other shows. Now, this can be a good thing. If you're just getting started, for instance, the booth shot can be a real impediment for starting artists. So non-juried shows give you the opportunity to really practice your skill, hone your sales technique, and figure out what works best in getting your pieces in front of the general public. Where they generally fall down, though, is that the people walking around a non-juried show don't tend to be of the same caliber as those walking around a juried show, which means they're a little less lucrative, we find. The other thing to definitely look out for is if art is not the headline of the show title. It might not be the place for you to be. You know, we found, for instance, there are several shows we used to do that we don't do anymore because the art became secondary to other activities, whether that was wine tasting or, in one instance, steampunk cosplay. Definitely was an interesting show. It was a great show for a lot of vendors, but it wasn't a good show for us. So these are definitely things you need to take into consideration as you're looking for shows. What kind of show you want to be in, juried versus non-juried. And now it's time for the question of the day. If you're a vendor, Tell us what kind of shows most appeal to you, the juried shows or the non-juried shows, and we'd like to know why. If you're a spectator, somebody who likes to come to these various different shows, tell us what kind of shows you look for. Are you looking for the shows with the higher art and consistent level of quality, or are you looking for more craft shows? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you're loving this video series. If you have any feedback for us, definitely leave it down in the comments. Also, don't be afraid to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you want to get a hold of us via our social media, all of those links are available down in the description. Facebook, Instagram, and as always, check out our Etsy store. Thanks for watching.